So if anybody is still out there in the break, please come back. Hello. And it's a great pleasure and privilege for me to be presenting to you today. This session is on aging and longevity, and from the previous speakers, we've heard why aging is a challenge and an opportunity. And currently, most of the speakers and most of the topics within the aging research conferences are focusing on diet, exercise, sleep, meditation, community involvement, psychological and behavioral modifications, and also exercise and prevention and diagnostics. Those things, in my opinion, are very important, but this is baseline. It's basically do what your mother told you. Nothing has changed in those areas over the past many decades, and people who were exercising, getting thorough diagnostics, meditating, dieting, they still live reasonably short lives, right? So currently, if you think about the life of a Buddhist monk who over-optimizes, gets access to the premium healthcare, life expectancy increases by 3 years. So what I am interested in myself personally, and also I'm trying to utilize the company and the infrastructure we've got to go way forward. So we are looking at ways to extend healthy, productive longevity with drugs and with other interventions that go beyond diet, exercise, sleep, exercise. So if you actually want to talk to me about diet, exercise, sleep, and behavioral modifications, don't. I think that this is something that people should speak less about and look more into the science of aging and longevity to advance the field. In my case, I am religiously dedicated to longevity science. Not married, don't have a family. I only focus 100% of my time on this. And today I'm going to tell you a story how we can utilize artificial intelligence, robotics, and aging research as a platform for drug discovery to discover dual-purpose therapeutics, looking at aging and disease at the same time, within the currently accessible and available regulatory norms. So just before I start, my talk is going to be very short today. I've got very few minutes to spend talking to you. So if you're interested in longevity education, in what is happening in longevity currently, in aging biomarkers, in therapeutics, you can take a CME accredited course at longevity.degree. That is my hobby. And this longevity education course has been taken by more than 7,000 physicians around the world since it launched in 2020. It's now part of the HDR UK and NHS system to upskill physicians, and many countries introduced local chapters. It's available in Chinese. Also, I co-organize a conference called the Aging Research Drug Discovery Meeting in Copenhagen. I recommend all of you to go there. It is 150 speakers, about 1,000 attendees by the University of Copenhagen, nonprofit. 50 startups go there, and usually Eli Lilly, Novo Nordisk, Novartis, Pfizer, Regeneron, Biogen, they're all there. So it's a platform to create a dialogue between academics and pharma to utilize recent advances in aging research for drug discovery. As a matter of fact, all of you know about GLP-1s, GIP inhibitors that are now allowing you to lose weight without exercise and even without focusing on specific diets. So those kind of drugs will propagate into the world and improve your quality of life regardless of your habits. Of course, it's very, very important to improve your habits. I need to make all the disclaimers, so don't buy or sell anything based on what I say, and don't take any drugs based on what I say. I'll give you a little bit of an overview of what the company is doing. So I have a company, it's called Insilico Medicine. It's currently truly global, so we have 2 headquarters in Boston and in Hong Kong, very focused on utilizing the CRO infrastructure here in Greater China. We are focusing on extending healthy, productive longevity around the world. We were selected as the most innovative biotechnology company globally by Fast Company this year. And this is what the company is doing. So we managed to utilize generative artificial intelligence to develop biology, chemistry, and biological research tools that a lot of pharma companies are using. So currently 10 out of the top 20 pharmaceutical companies are using my software. And we also do a lot of aging research. I kind of call it understanding changes in time. You can train deep neural networks and specific models to understand changes in time. So think of your life as a video and also as a video game. So that's something AI systems can learn really well. And recently, we also started working a lot in sustainability, in carbon capture, and sustainable agriculture, and also going to e-fuels. So we go beyond drug discovery. We collaborate with big companies in sustainable agriculture, in petrochemistry, to discover new methods to go after sustainability initiatives. I actually think that if you want to live longer, you mentally need to prepare to try to go into sustainability because you want to live in a cleaner world. And what is the biggest problem in longevity biotechnology I see today? The biggest challenge is that in humans, there are many aging clocks. Now we've perfected the way to track aging. Pretty much every data type that changes in time, you can build an aging clock around it. You can build a predictor of your chronological age or biological age. But currently, there are no proven therapeutics that can extend your life. There are a lot of therapeutics with some evidence in animals and even in meta studies in humans suggesting that they work, but there are no clinical studies completed. In mice, also, some aging clocks, not that many, but also few proven therapeutics that extend life. There is an NIH-funded study called Intervention Testing Program, ITP, which tests a lot of therapeutics in mice, and currently there is maybe a dozen therapeutics that tangibly extend lifespan in mice. Like, for example, rapamycin and acarbose gives you consistently 15 to 20% life extension with decreases in age-associated condition in mice. In monkeys, actually few clocks and few therapeutics. Why? Because it takes 10 plus years and over $2 billion to develop a drug. So currently, even some countries, like right now, a lot of experts debate if China has ever discovered a novel drug, new target, new small molecule, or an antibody approved in the US for the first time as first in class. This requires a lot of risk-taking, a lot of expertise, and in most cases, the cost of clinical trials is just immense, and the failure rate is 98%. So introducing an aging clock, even in a proper clinical trial, is difficult and reduces probability of success. So that's something that I learned very recently. But how can we solve this dilemma? And this is kind of my biggest idea I probably proposed so far to date. You can follow me on Google Scholar and see our publications. I think this is probably the most impactful one, to look for therapeutic targets, biological mechanisms that are implicated in aging and disease at the same time. So my hypothesis is that if your drug is powerful enough to work in aging, it should work in many diseases. And it makes it commercially viable because no investor, no sane and rational investor is going to give you the money to develop a drug for aging because most of the time it will fail. Even disease-focused drugs, they fail 98% of the time from scratch, right? But if you develop a therapeutic for a disease, you might also be able to hit aging. And if you start your discovery cycles right away from finding the dual mechanisms between aging and disease at the same time, you might be able to do that very efficiently. So we have a system called Pandaomics. It is a kind of community resource that a lot of people use for target discovery to understand why disease happens and which protein is driving it. So we published a paper showing that we can now look at many proteins in the human body and classify them by novelty, confidence, commercial tractability, drugability, and put them into hallmarks of aging. So it's very surprising that in this session, this is the first time you probably are hearing the word hallmarks of aging. But this is a very established framework to explain why aging happens and what is driving aging. And what we did, we also looked at targets, proteins, that are implicated in many hallmarks of aging at the same time. That gives us more confidence that they are going to be working in multiple diseases. And we published a paper recently showing that some of those targets, like for example TNIC, is implicated in many age-related diseases and aging at the same time. And another group from Copenhagen, the same group that identified GLP-1 inhibitors, well, same department, many years ago, GLP-1s as a target. This is the kind of Department of Metabolism within University of Copenhagen. You know, Novo Nordisk, right now, the market value of this company is bigger than Denmark's GDP because of those GLP-1 inhibitors. So these guys are very good at metabolism. So and recently they published a paper showing that this target that we've identified using aging research is implicated in muscle wasting and in obesity. And so mice that don't have this gene, TNIC, they are on high-fat, high-sugar diets, so they don't gain weight, and they actually don't lose muscle. With GLP-1s, one of the biggest problems is that about 25% to 40% of the weight loss is muscle, and you don't want to lose muscle. Muscle is your retirement fund for aging, right? So here you have two mice. Which one do you want to be, right? Imagine if I give you a drug and you can eat anything you like, really tasty food, cheesecake all the time, and don't get fat and be really muscular. So that is the goal of those exercises. But now how do we develop a therapeutic for TNIC? That would be very difficult, right? Because this slide comes from Stephen Paul's paper in Nature Reviews Drug Discovery, very high impact paper showing that the drug discovery life cycle is over 12 years, even if you know the target, and fails most of the time. So you need to have a lot of expertise to go after a novel therapeutic and be prepared to spend 12 years of your life doing this, right? So we developed a form of integrated generative AI that can address the problems at every step of the way within this process. And here we have the software that allows you to go end-to-end from target discovery to clinical trial prediction, and started to using the software ourselves to discover and develop novel therapeutics, many of them targeting aging and age-related diseases. So our idea is to find the next GLP-1, which could be even stronger than GLP-1 and extend your life at the same time. So you don't need to just go to the gym, exercise, sleep, diet. You should do it anyway. That's your baseline. But imagine if you wanted to live to 120 years old and regain some function. Well, you need to use some help for that, right? And we started developing those drugs, and some of those drugs became very commercially viable. The reason why we managed to, when we started in 2014, originally in Baltimore, but now we're global, we probably had 500 competitors. 2019, 2,000 competitors. Right now, at the top, maybe 10 competitors. The reason for that is because I have Dr. Renfeng, my co-CEO, who can now utilize AI to develop really good drugs, utilizing the infrastructure, including here in China, which is probably #1 in the world right now. So you basically put the power of AI with the power of China together, and you can do what I'm going to show you we can do. So this is the history of generative AI, specifically leading to generative adversarial networks. Those kind of green dots are papers where I was a senior author, showing that we can utilize those systems for drug design. One of the very famous papers that I published as a first author was this in Nature Biotechnology 2019, Generative Tensorial Reinforcement Learning for Small Molecule Drug Design, together with Olena Spuro-Gudzik at the University of Toronto now, before he was at Harvard. And in that paper, we showed that given a protein target, within 21 days, we can come up with a list of molecules to synthesize them, get them to metabolic stability, microsomal stability assays, and then test them in mice. All that in 46 days. So that was a big paper, big idea. Then we published another paper showing that now we can also do target discovery for targets that don't have a crystal structure, used AlphaFold, use my chemistry 42, and very rapidly identify drugs for the hepatocellular carcinoma, 50 days including synthesis. And my this year's paper, published March 8th, that I'm very proud of, it's actually about TNIC, the target that I was talking to you about. published in Nature Biotechnology, very popular paper. You probably have heard about it because altmetric is actually pretty high. And in this paper, we showed the history of 4 years, well, 3.5 years, of how we discovered this target, did hallmarks of aging assessment. I think I got more time because I'm the, there was a speaker switch, right? How many minutes? Couple more minutes. Oh, okay, so I'll switch a few slides right now. And but if you wanted to read one paper about AI-powered drug discovery and aging, this would be the one. Because here we disclosed more than 18 preclinical experiments, mice, monkeys, we have dogs here, 2 human clinical studies, so 8 healthy volunteers in phase 0, then over 100 volunteers in China and New Zealand for phase 1, and now we have 2 phase 2s. So, and again, this target is in phase 2 human clinical trials. It scores in many hallmarks of aging, and you can look at how we did that. So now I will skip a few slides because we can also repurpose existing drugs with the power of China. In less than a year, we went into human clinical trials from discovery with a very famous scientist here in China called Lu Bai. Look at his research. And it's actually, some of those drugs that we discover are very commercially viable. So some of them we sold. So one of the sales that we made close to $1 billion to Exelixis last year, 80 million cash upfront. Menarini, close to $500 million in total value. So those drugs are actually quite profitable. And now to accelerate it, I decided to build a fully robotics lab that can help us with indication expansion and also target validation. And I built it in Suzhou, so what you're going to see is not animation, it's like real footage. So in my lab in Suzhou, you walk in, this is real footage. The lab recognizes your face. To your right, you got dimmed windows. You can undim them, see the robots. And here, there's a workflow that we're following. So you do tissue, cell, organoids, throw it into a robot. It picks it up, grinds it, microplates it, does quality control, then passes it into another room. There we have a small army of autonomous guided vehicles that we've designed with a company called Ximaging here in Suzhou. And part of the sample goes into incubator, part into the imaging station. There, 4 or 5 types of imaging. For example, we can also look at the number of senescent cells in a sample, so aging. And then we do 3 types of library preparations for multi-omics analysis. So we can very rapidly identify 3 types of omics: methylation, transcriptomics, proteomics. And then it goes to AI, and here AI makes decisions, something that humans used to do, but humans are very biased. So here AI picks the targets, picks the compounds from the compound hotel, puts them on a liquid handler, microplates them, puts them onto the samples that you originally put into the lab, and the lab analyzes them after incubation. They also get imaging, omics data, and if AI did well, it gets rewarded. If it did poorly, it gets punished. And then you also identify a bunch of targets that you can sell to pharmaceutical companies, which is super cool. So now we're utilizing this lab and many other forms of data sourcing to create multi-agent Gen AI systems for targeted drug research to identify more drugs that are implicated in aging and disease. And one of the really cool things that we have coming up is going to be called Precious 3 GPT. So we are releasing end of this month, beginning of August. This system will allow you to do many, many tasks for aging research, identify new targets, identify new molecules for repurposing, generate synthetic data, predict age using multi-species omics. You can do it on mice, you can do it on rat, you can do it on dog and monkey and on human. One model to rule them all. That's why it's called Precious 3 GPT. And here I'm going to stop. Please ask me any questions. You can add me on WeChat. I run a small WeChat group on aging research and drug discovery here in China. And please come to our meeting in Copenhagen. Thank you.